Hey, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Bold Expressions. No, that's not the name of this podcast. This is Random Thoughts. Random Thought, I need to remember the name of the podcast that I'm doing. Welcome to another edition of Random Thoughts. This Random Thought is about forgiveness and unity and the people who are full of shite for trying to call for it because uh, they claim to want unity and peace, yet they don't want to accept responsibility for what they've done, and they don't want to even apologize for what they've done. And I know the phrase is, and I've said it before, that forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. Um, when someone has personally wronged you, whether they ask for it, or not, for your own benefit, you have to forgive them to let yourself go um, for whatever has happened. However, if you're the one calling for forgiveness, then damn it, I'm going to at least need you to apologize first. And when I say apologize, I mean truly apologize and acknowledge that you messed up. Not the, hey, I shall apologize for what happened. That is basically, I'm only here so I don't get fined. To truly apologize, you have to say that you have wronged somebody and that you seek their forgiveness for what you did to them, or your part in whatever happened. You need to ask for forgiveness for the part in whatever you did in the transgression. But they don't want that. They want you to skip past over that because they don't want to be held accountable for the part that they played in this man child's temper tantrum that led to a storming of our nation's capital. And you can tell they don't want to accept responsibility because some of them are still they're doing the same damn thing that led to this happening in the first place. They're still condoning or airing the ridiculous and debunked theories of voter fraud. Um, they still have the theories of, oh well, some of that was Antifa people in there that was storming the Capitol. It's like, how would you know that it was Antifa people? And you know, just by that logic, Antifa people. If okay, some there's this video this girl talked to. I don't know if it's her mom or stepmom. Her mom was like, yeah, there were some Antifa people there, and they had their Mac. They were dressed in MAGA clothes, and they had a MAGA hat backwards, and that's how you know they were Antifa. Which is like, how did y'all come up with that code? Also, it's like, and she was saying all the MAGA, the Antifa people were there, and her daughter was just like, okay, well, what's wrong with that statement? She's like, I don't know. They were there with who? I don't. She was like, MAGA people. So were the MAGA people there? Oh, they were just gathering. It's just, it's just the level of cognitive dissonance from that. Just that their brains won't even allow them to say, even going by that their flawed logic. It's like, okay, what you're saying is that they were up there already, and they went up there just gathering. So every person that broke into the Capitol was an undercover Antifa person. It's like, right. So what is like it's like what makes you say that? Like base and it's just like their claims of election fraud. they don't have any proof, and for them, they don't really need any, because whatever you say, they hand wave it away. Um, like this one night, she was talking to Congress about the supposed voter fraud, and somebody said, "Well, there's no evidence of voter fraud." She was like, well, I bet you, there's close to so and so hundreds of thousands missing. It's like, well, there's no evidence of that. She's like, is there no evidence, or did you just do something? It's like there's always like the QAnon people. First, Trump is gonna take all these people down. He's gonna do this and this and this. He's gonna win the election. Blah 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 blah. He loses the election. Well, really, this is actually some kind of deeper level of what it's like. There's always some excuse, and so no, it's like for those type of people, I can't forgive them because they can't even bring themselves to acknowledge that they were wrong. So no. Um, and they say, saw this one guy, Ben Shapiro, talked about him before. He had a podcast that mentioned, uh, I'm sorry, that mentioned how Democrats want peace, better price. It's like, well, and there was another one to where he said um, that he's like people are excited in the description. People were excited about Joe Biden, but will he be an even worse kind of fascist? And that struck me because for that sentence to work, that means that you in some way acknowledge who and what Trump was. But in the same breath, in the same notion, he distanced himself from the role that he played in supporting him, and while still trying to throw shade on Biden. Trump and Biden aren't even close in the way that they, supposedly try to govern in different things. But in order to absolve himself of any wrongdoing, that's his supposed intellectual stance. But yeah, as I said, in their cause for, as usual, just as with you know black people, we are used to this type of thing when something happens to us. Um, we're called to forgive, um, and it's the same way. We're called to forgive without the offended party actually having to apologize or acknowledge that they were wrong. Um, and we're called to forgive as if us forgiving them excuses them from the act of being punished. That because I forgive you for doing something wrong, that means that you no longer have to be held accountable. It's like no, people still need to be held accountable. Every last single person that stormed the Capitol needs to be rounded up and charged. Every every politician that went along with Trump's, hey, I was robbed of the election, I was robbed of this and this, voter fraud, this, they should be held accountable. The people who were there when the Capitol was stormed, yet they still, sided with Republicans, and after everything that happened, still don't want to, go through with impeachment. I believe they, not only just be held responsible, they need to be removed from office. The people who were there and sending information on where people was, did the same for them. Like we can have unity We can have peace, but there has to be accountability. You have to be. I don't want to use the term made an example of, but there has to be something. There has to be something to happen to show that you were wrong for this, and you know you're wrong in your part that you played. Um, but yeah, but of course the people who um, the people who talk about personal responsibility don't want to take any. Um, but they're big to talk about anybody else. Um, Healthcare problems. Well, you should have, you know, thought about that before you ate whatever. For birth control, you should have thought about the kids and whatnot before you laid down for sex. You should have, as always, you should have done this and that. Yet when it's time for them to accept responsibilities for their actions, you know, I, I don't know, it's just funny to me. But yeah, just no. Uh, I can't forgive people who rallied against the country knowingly and violently and refused to apologize or acknowledge that they were wrong. But yes, I'm not going to give those people the easy out. I'm not going to give them the I don't even say satisfaction because it makes it seem vindictive, but it's not. It's wanting to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Um, because they're always quick to try to make an example of somebody, and well, this is the time to do it. But yeah, because we see how easy it happened with somebody who didn't know what they were doing. Just imagine how it would be. And somebody brought up video. This guy I watched Bold the Fifth Column. He brought up a good point in one of his videos. Just imagine if Trump was an actual leader. And by that, just imagine if he was the type of leader that he pretended to be, even just for a second. What if he had been with them when they marched down to the Capitol? It's one thing to try to keep crazy seditionists away, but just imagine if they walked down there with the President of the United States with them. But yeah, just imagine if he had been there. As I said, and just the confusion of do I keep the president from coming in? Just that. How much more emboldened they would have been had he been there. And to make sure that we don't mess around and get somebody who's actually competent, we have to hold those responsible accountable. That doesn't mean that you don't forgive them. That doesn't mean that at some point, if they show change behavior, that we don't welcome them back into the fold because we are still the United States of America. But at some point, they have to take responsibility for what they did. Yeah, we need to have unity, but there also needs to be some acknowledgement of what happened. There has to be some apology made. There has to be, some type of olive branch. These type of people are always expecting the offended to be the bigger person, but a lot of times somebody being a big person is just an excuse for somebody else to try to walk over you. Anyway, that's my thought about it. If you agree, I would appreciate you, or agree or disagree, whatever your thoughts on. I would appreciate if you left a comment below. I'll be sure to comment back. Um, if you enjoyed this, maybe want to hear more of certain how I feel about certain issues. Um, put that in the comment section as well. You can also check out my main podcast, Bold Expressions, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor.fm, and wherever podcasts can be found. Uh, Thank you for hearing my thoughts. Have a great day.